Welcome back to Worldview. Snowden's wild goose chase, or why civil liberties matter. This is the Monday Line. I'm Dennis Campbell. Edward Snowden is causing significant embarrassment to the global press corps, as well as the U.S. government's intelligence, security, and industrial war apparatus. Whether your knee-jerk reaction is to label him a traitor or a hero, he, along with Bradley Manning, Julian Assange, and Daniel Ellsberg, stood up and said the U.S. government was breaking the law by lying to the American people and had constructed a series of laws that prevented the release of any information to make the public aware of these law-breaking lies. So the answer to the hero or traitor question is likely somewhere in between, in the gray area most media outlets abhor. The U.S. is so deeply divided and polarized politically, anytime you find a murky middle ground, well, that just seems to ramp up the outrage machine further on both sides. And this global attempt to criminalize investigative journalism is a dangerous overreach and bringing it all to a standstill. The Obama administration and others targeting of whistleblowers, combined with countries around the globe doing everything in their power to place journalists at greater prosecutorial or physical harm, is an unacceptable overreach of power. When I interviewed ADayWithoutNews.com founder Aidan Sullivan, we talked about the physical safety of journalists in war zones where governments shot at and committed real war crimes by targeting those journalists.
We as a community should be doing something. And we were at the UN in New York, and there was a panel discussion which was about the dangers faced by conflict journalists. And I voiced at that panel, well, you know what, maybe it's time that we made it an official war crime to purposefully attack journalists working in conflict zones. And there was a lawyer, a UN lawyer on the panel who said, look, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but it is.
At that point, 91 journalists had been killed in 2012, marking one of the bloodiest years on record, and the chilling effect this had had on news and news gathering. This attack, though, is on investigators trying to get answers, then being criminalized and metaphorically shot at with bullets that could imprison them for life for exposing the truths of governmental lawbreaking. Now, something is very wrong when no one can report on government without the risk of prison time. The question is the dogged pursuit of Edward Snowden across borders to then treat him like Bradley Manning or Julian Assange similarly a war crime by definition? There are a number of motive questions I find myself asking in these cases. Were their acts committed from a place of conscience or done strictly to embarrass? Was great care taken to protect intelligence assets, as in people's lives? Or were their actions petty and or indiscriminate? And finally, was the release the only way to provide information about government lawbreaking? Until more is known about Edward Snowden, one cannot answer that one. And yet it seems, judging by the video released weeks ago that started this, the reams of thoughtful articles since, and a very unique Q&A with him by The Guardian's Glenn Greenwald and their readers, his actions are and were very carefully planned and thought out. Edward Snowden is on the run to an unextraditable country, most likely Ecuador or Cuba. The knee-jerk reaction by the U.S. government and intelligence organizations, though, has been grandstanding vitriol vented against him and all countries that might harbor or assist his relocation by shrill, partisan, and petulant U.S. government representatives. This theatrical show of outrage fails to accomplish anything and ignores one fact. The government did not do its homework or move fast enough to extradite him from Hong Kong. Now, is Snowden a hero? I don't think so. Is he a traitor? And looking at his activities and the careful release of important information, I'm inclined to say no. Did he break the law? Yes, he did. And he admits it. And looking at those laws, there was no way for him or anyone to legally expose the U.S. government's lawbreaking. Now, Daniel Ellsberg, the man who released the Pentagon Papers in the 1970s, called Snowden's release even more important than his own. I'm inclined to agree, because when you develop artificial intelligence systems that vacuum up every bit of data transmitted anywhere, anytime, in the hopes of thwarting terror, the people, 99.9999% of whom have done nothing wrong, lose liberties. And yet people have been so indoctrinated into a culture of fear, 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 that they seem not to worry at all as they bury their heads in their phones and tablets. Big Brother is winning, and it may be too late to do anything to change that. No, no one wants another 9/11, and it is incredibly naive and stupid for a global community to punish everyone for a massive intelligence failure to track the few. Terror is a fact of life. People will die from it. But bankrupting a country to protect it against something you cannot see is silly. And at the end of the day, we've lost fewer lives thanks to incredibly dedicated professionals who do their job within the law. New fear-based laws such as the Patriot Act and FISA create our current airport security theater and give government the reason to be lazy. It's easy to build profiles in everyone that are a coin flip as to their accuracy. But if you're ensnared, you face prosecutors and a complicit media that says it enough times so you're found guilty in the court of public opinion long before any trial with that presumed innocence you're guaranteed by the Constitution. The numbers do not lie. More people have been lost to handgun violence 1,000 times over in the USA than died on 9/11. More people have died at the hands of drink drivers or in traffic accidents. So 9/11, that's a non-starter 12 years on. What we should be paying attention to is this response by Edward Snowden to a Twitter question when he was with The Guardian. He said, Binney, Drake, Kirikow, and Manning are all examples of how overly harsh responses to public interest whistleblowing only escalate the scale, scope, and skill involved in future disclosures. Citizens with a conscience are not going to ignore wrongdoing simply because they'll be destroyed for it. The conscience forbids it. Instead, these draconian responses simply build better whistleblowers. The Obama administration responds with an even harsher hand against me. They can be assured that they'll soon find themselves facing an equally harsh public response. This disclosure provides Obama an opportunity to appeal for a return to sanity, constitutional policy, and the rule of law rather than men. He still has plenty of time to go down in history as the president who looked into the abyss and stepped back rather than leaping forward into it. I would advise he personally call for a special committee to review these interception programs, repudiate the dangerous state secrets privilege, and, upon preparing to leave office, begin a tradition for all presidents forthwith to demonstrate their respect for the law by appointing a special investigator to review the policies of their years in office for any wrongdoing. There can be no faith in government if our highest officers are excused from scrutiny. They should be setting the example of transparency. Well, that would be a good start.